Oh, good morning, folks. It's about 8:30 where I'm at right now. Nice and early in the morning. This is usually when Styx does his thing, which unfortunately he's kind of tied up right now. No pun intended. I actually really like Styx, and I highly recommend you go see his content at Styx Hexenhammer. Look him up on YouTube. You'll find him. So kind of going over current events. You're seeing my YouTube right now. And this video is going to end up being a live stream, but I really wanted to cover some automation stuff that kind of disappoints, but I knew it was going this way. See, here's the thing, and I didn't bookmark this stuff, by the way, stupidly. I should have. Me and this knuckle dragger on here have been going back and forth. He doesn't seem to understand how this is actually going to work this time. Your unions are used to getting their way, so I'm not surprised at his attitude on this one. But here's the problem. If this negotiation doesn't work out and becomes a problem, a big enough problem for anyone, our docks are going to be completely automated. And that's really the problem. I found this kind of funny. I've been kind of laughing some of this stuff up, but see, here's the thing, and a lot of people try to push back on this idea. The president only needs to send in the Corps of Engineers to set the docks up to be automated. That's all he needs to do. And before you say they can't do that, the military can't operate on U.S. soil, I will remind you of most of Northwest Arkansas, Mississippi, and a lot of the Mississippi River on up. The Corps of Engineers is universally able to basically do whatever they want within the borders of the United States, given that the president authorizes it. And sometimes, by the way, they're generally permitted to do whatever the hell they want either way, just because they can for the hell of it. If they want to go to your home and go next door to a piece of property that you don't own, and in some cases, courtesy of eminent domain, it doesn't matter whether you own it or not, they'll just do whatever the hell they want. So yes, Army or Navy, I forget what the Navy Corps of Engineers is actually called. I don't think it's called the Corps of Engineers. I'm pretty sure they have their own branding for it, but they do have a version of it. Absolutely could and probably will, if this keeps going the way that it's going with this senile old fogey who is severely misrepresenting his constituents as a union boss. 77% is way too much. Number one, you should have gone with the 50%. And automation is coming whether you want it to or not. All you're doing is leading the people under you like sheep to literally be turned into lamb chops or, sheep-related byproducts. And unfortunately for them, they don't understand that. A lot of people at this point, because of your statements that were done on Twitter and to the news and a lot of other places, no one cares what you think anymore. Your level of bargaining was dramatically cut in half. And if you think that normal people won't just waltz in there and take those jobs for themselves, well, we might. We might. But you need to consider for a moment that it's not us that you really need to be worried about. It's the fact that look at China, look at Europe, look at most other ports in the world. They're mostly automated. We're one of the very few countries that have non-automated ports, and the technology is just sitting there in the containers waiting to be opened up and put together. And the Army Corps of Engineers, they'll roll right into your shit and do it without having even a second thought about what you have to say. And there won't be any violence directed towards them because they'll put it out of their minds, and you'll be in handcuffs shipped off to the nearest cell until the project is done. And that's literally how it will be handled. It'll just be taken over by the military. It'll either be done by the Navy Corps of Engineers or the Marines will step in and do it for them. Believe it or not, yes, the Crayon Squad can do things. quite a few things. And I call them Crayon Squad out of a source of affection. I have family members that are Marines, and I do have respect for the Marine Corps. The Crayon Squad is a joke that is affectionately tossed between family members, and yes, I am bringing it here. You know, me and my uncle joke all the time about how many crayons he ate. It's actually kind of comical. But, no, y'all got it twisted. You're kind of screwing yourself, really, by letting this clown get up there and talk for you. Your collective bargaining representative, I'm not so sure that it is collective bargaining. I really do think this guy is doing you guys a major disservice. And, you know, the worst possible events could happen just as he opened his mouth. We have a hurricane that barrels towards the inner coast of Florida and wrecks like 4 other states that are going to be needing the supplies that are on those boats. And y'all are going on strike at the worst possible time. So your sympathy is 0 at this point. You have no sympathy. And that is one of the key components of a strike. You can try to put pressure and threats all you want. Look how well that worked for truck drivers. Yeah, they got a little bit of what they wanted. Nowhere near what they were asking for. Not even close. In fact, actually, they lost more than they gained. And y'all are about to end up in the same position. And I think that's largely, while I think Biden is a senile, fuckwit who doesn't know his head from his ass most days, I'm almost certain that he and his administration, in a rare moment of, mental capacity, what little bit he has left, he's sitting there looking at that union boss thinking, you know what, I'm not running again for president because I got pushed out by my own party. It'd be a damn shame if I made the Corps of Engineers go to every one of these ports and put in automated stuff. It'd be a damn shame. I mean, he's not getting the union vote anyway. That was made abundantly clear. The Democrats aren't really going to get the union endorsement that they want. That's going to go to Donald Trump, even if it's unofficially, by the people that work under these unions. Because, what was it? One of the biggest unions in the country, what was their name? I forget. I don't give a rip. I'm not union. I don't think unions are the greatest anymore. I used to actually be a pretty good believer in them, but I've seen them being abused by people so many times, it's just not even funny anymore. It's just kind of a shrug. I mean, you can form a strike without having a union. It's not really that hard. You're just going to have a representative for that one individual strike, and then after you get what you want, it's just going to disperse until something else happens. It's not really a union at that point so much as it is just you pissed off all the workers. People don't want to admit what's coming, and I see this from a lot of boomers more than anything else. And before you call me a boomer, I'm only in my 30s, I'm not a boomer. The reality here is that a lot of things are not going to go the way that you hope they will. Like, a lot. I actually saw something on Twitter, and I'm going to see if I can find it to kind of exemplify what I'm saying here. Because there is actually something that I'm going to look up, but I'm going to have to delete my internet history. Well, if I'm going to look it up, then it's going to be on YouTube, but my god, I can't find my posts. Why can't I figure this out? That's the wrong thing. I'll go under my profile and let's see, replies. That was me smarting off to some rando on Twitter. I don't really give a shit. Yeah, the deer in the headlights that Tim Waltz gave. Yada yada yada. Why is it not showing that post? I literally did the post. Oh yeah, that's another one we'll get into later. Yeah, hee hee, ha ha, all the clown stuff that I get a kick out of, yada yada yada. Oh, look, a notification. Don't give a fuck. Actually, I do. It's someone following me. That's fine. Yes, I did petition Joe Biden's administration on this particular point. Um, because it's a good point. Articles, likes. Oh, I forgot to like it. I guarantee you I forgot to like it. Well, anywho, it was a feminist rattling off, all the stuff that, sex dolls can't do, right? To which my reply, which I'm kind of annoyed that I can't find it, yeah, I usually donate my time rather to talking about politics, local politics. No, you really can't hate the government enough, and that's another thing too about this. Yes, the Army Corps of Engineers or the Navy equivalent, or even the Air Force for that matter, they absolutely could do this stuff. Now, I don't think they should. They shouldn't. They really should not. I'm not advocating for people to lose their jobs. I'm rather just pointing out the fact that this union boss guy, I don't even remember his friggin' name, and I don't really care either. He really must have the world's worst sense of timing. Because any other time that this would have happened, not during an election season, and definitely not at the same time a hurricane wipes out 4 to 5 of our states, people probably actually would have been pretty sympathetic with him. Jesus, 9 mil. Really? I'll never get that out of my head now. That's terrible, but funny. Yeah, that's another thing too, is I feel that without dock workers, I kind of feel like a lot of things that have been going on, a lot of sketchy shit especially, has been going on under the supervision of...
Serious human trafficking issue in this country. I just did not think it was this bad. We also have another major issue going on in our boards right now, and I just wanted to speak on it. Because I don't think a lot of people understand why they're striking. One of the major reasons I've been seeing coming out of videos and reports from people talking about it is that they get tired of hearing children screaming inside the containers. Yeah, you heard that right. The workers are striking, and one of the main reasons is they're tired of hearing humans being shipped over and screaming and banging on the inside of the shipping containers to get out. I understand we have a serious human trafficking issue in this country. I just did not think it was this bad. Never once did it cross my mind we need to be checking shipping containers for people. Can you imagine how long somebody's been inside of one of those, depending on how long they were waiting to dock? No heat, no air, nothing. I pray for the workers of the ports because I don't think they signed up to deal with people. Pretty sure they were just supposed to move cargo and goods. This is crazy, y'all.
I don't know if that's accurate. I want to see news reports of that before I actually speak to it. But if it is the case, every single union boss needs to be dragged before Congress by their fucking hair. And they need to have the congressional equivalent of having their testicles tied to a fucking moving vehicle at this point. That is absolutely inexcusable. If you're going to be paid over $100,000 a year, and in some cases, more or less, the jackal at the top, earning not almost 900. What was it, 4 or 9? My brain doesn't process numbers very well first thing in the morning, but either way, this needs to be friggin' dealt with. And no, that is not the word I was going to use. This is ridiculous. That is absolutely disgusting. Yeah, trigger discipline. And the lack thereof, especially when, yeah. Oh, by the way, shout out to Tim Pool. Good content. I like his stuff. I don't care what they say about him in Russia. They can shove it. I know how business works. I know that sometimes you can receive money from somebody and not necessarily know who they're in bed with, and they have nothing to do with your show, just that they support some or most of what you're saying. That doesn't mean that you, in some way, shape, or form, are controlled by the Russians. It just means that your money is coming from somewhere. Yes, I'm into anime. Kind of a promo video stream here about the stuff that I like and the stuff that I do cover on my channel. This one kind of caught me off guard a little bit. Alright, so I definitely rag on Doug Emhoff a lot. But if this is true and the other thing is true, I want, like, proof, you know? I can't stand Doug Emhoff or Kamala Harris. I think they're weak, sad, and pathetic individuals who do not deserve to be in positions of leadership, period. But I never really figured... I don't know, I guess there's a certain level of weakness to hitting a woman if you're a man, but... I don't know. I definitely want more proof than just the New York Post or Twitter telling me that, you know, he did the thing that you're not supposed to do. Yeah, actually, I've been shifting my diet to things like this. I need to source my meat a little better because I'm still stuck with chicken patties and stuff like that. I need to shift off to, you know, I actually want to get money together to start buying from my local butcher, you know, which is part of the reason for the desire to have a YouTube channel and a video game that can be published, which I'm supposed to be working on at this very moment, but I've hit the NPC dialogue version of Writer's Block, which is always fun, and this broadcast would probably be going better if I did the thing. Yeah, no, I am the person on here streaming this right now, so that doesn't matter. We'll share it to Facebook. You probably didn't need to see that I was wishing a good friend, happy birthday. Sorry about that, Dragon. Didn't mean to have you pop up like that. Yeah, so, back to current events. Disaster in a lot of the southern states right now. I saw a rumor that I want confirmed. According to some of the posts I've seen on Twitter, I've seen 1 or 2 posts on Facebook about it. The feds are trying to turn away donations from people from outside those states. I can understand not wanting people to get in the way. However, not relaying these resources to people, as is your mandate, more or less, I think is wrong. But again, I want to see an actual report of this happening, not just things floated around on Twitter. I want at least a body cam video of it. I mean, it doesn't even have to hit some massive news cycle, because we all know that most, if not all, of your major corporate news outlets are garbage. That's kind of stupid to even remotely believe a word that they say at this point. You have so many other sources of information, and you should be exploring them in your spare time. I have budgeted our life to be kind of a spare time magnet, specifically for the purpose of creating a YouTube channel. I just really haven't had much to say because I've been kind of going through a lot lately, which is my problem, not yours. Unless you're a friend or immediate family member or just that person who always cares about everyone, you probably won't care about it either way. But just being blunt on that one, like, you come onto YouTube to see people talking about stuff. I will never be as good as Styx. Styx has a face for TV and has the voice for it as well. He's also more entertaining by a very wide margin. I could tell you what she sees in him, and it is probably has something to do with how big his wallet is. Okay, that was pretty clever. I'll probably get banned for that one, though. There's some stuff on Twitter that you can't really put on YouTube or Facebook because they don't like it. I probably will do things more like Styx from now on, but this is another problem. I hate this. Not that I have an issue with trans people. This person is clearly nowhere near being an adult. Clearly. That should not be allowed to happen. I'm sorry if you disagree with that, but if you're under the age of 18, you can't give consent, you can't buy cigarettes. In most places, you're not allowed to get a tattoo or do anything else. You should not, even with parental assistance, you should not be authorized to have those kind of surgeries until after you're 18 years old. That way you've had a chance to see whether it's just a phase or not. And for some people, it is. And then they end up horribly scarred, and then you get what are called retransitioners, or detransitioners, I believe is what it's called. And it really, and more so, speaking to the trans people out there, it convolutes the message. And I mean this is coming from a Christian, by the way, so I really don't like your whole movement, but as a Christian who's seen his own movement have this happen, when it's a similar thing as having a Catholic priest turn Satanist on the spot, right? It's not, or better yet, it's the equivalent of a Catholic priest for the effect of your movement, of a Catholic priest doing something horrific. It's not something that your movement wants if you want your movement to succeed, is what I'm getting at. Detransitioners are detrimental to your cause because it shows that people can make mistakes and some people can grow out of these things. And some people get educated out of them too, by the way. It's not even a hate thing, it's just they didn't have all the facts. They were lied to, or they were told something different. Which, by the way, I think if you were lied to by a transition specialist at any point, they told you that you'd be able to have your reproductive organs back or something along those lines if you changed your mind later, they should absolutely be able to be sued 110%. And I absolutely believe that these things need to be done on paper, not by word of mouth. That way, if someone does, and they stupidly put that in the contract, they get their nuts, stapled to the wall for a change. That's really what I think. I think if you detransition, or you want to, and you are lied to about it by a physician at any point in time, it should be medical malpractice, and they should lose their license to operate. Period. Bar none. And every person involved should see at least a fine. Because, you're just being lied to. But enough about that. Again, I'm not trans. I do have friends that are. They're adults. They have gone through the surgeries, and it was their decision, one of which already had her kids when she was a she. And she just felt like she wanted to be a guy. Hey, I can't, I won't speak to that. That is biblically something I am against. However, you are a grown adult. I have testified to you the Word of God many times. You know who you are. You made your choices. And that's all there is to it. At this point in time, as a Christian, I have to put my hands up and say, hey, you made your decision. Alright? And that's all there is to it. What comes next is on you. I did my part. And that is unfortunately a reality to testifying to people the Word of God. And yes, you heard me cuss, and now I'm talking about God. Imagine that. Maybe you should read your Bible a little more into Matthew, Luke, and John, when Christ was flipping over tables and calling people sons of snakes. Imagine that. Sometimes the truth needs to be said. And I'm not going to get into the 162 or whatever different genders that the left wants to tell you there is. Biologically and scientifically speaking, there are two. Male and female. This is specifically speaking to the science. Gender identity is not science, and that is something that the left absolutely will freak out over. More notifications. I will deal with those later. To speak truth to the matter, there is a vast difference between identity and science. I can identify as an egg roll if I wanted to. Scientifically and biologically speaking, I probably wouldn't, culinarily speaking, I probably wouldn't taste that good. I probably have a few ex-girlfriends that could attest to that. Those who know that joke, I need to get my mind out of the gutter, but shame on you for knowing that joke. Anyway, my choice to identify as an egg roll is kind of irrelevant to the rest of the world. I'm still a guy who sits in his chair and bitches about life on YouTube. So, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Because it kind of falls down to, it's my opinion of myself. And that's where it solely belongs. I do not have the authority or the right to tell people what to think about me. I can go out and try to lightly influence them, but I can't force them to use the egg roll pronoun, for example, or egg rolls or whatever. It's not how free speech works. See, I have the freedom to say, I'm an egg roll. I do not have the freedom to demand you to give up your freedom to call me an egg roll. Although you might. Oh, the red dot's gonna bug me. I need to close this. Actually, no, I need it to refresh to see if I can get lucky and someone will repost. Oh man, that is getting so old. Elon, if you see this at any point, I get we need ads, man, but these mobile game ads are so scummy. Yes, divorce is an L. Yeah, actually, that does not surprise me at all. Not in the least. Man, someone's about to get punched out. Like, I hate to say that, but whoa. Interesting. Yeah, well, Jack Smith's filing is a joke. I've actually looked into it. It is a joke. Number one, I'm going to speak a little fact here. January 6th was not inspired by Donald Trump. It was inspired by a bunch of people, actually. I would know. I watched it on Twitter. I literally watched it unfold on social media as it happened. I was one of the people actually on Facebook telling people to stay home and, be patient and be kind, because that's how you win. And it is. For the most part, I was right, because now, yes, we've had to endure 4 years of bullshit. But now the truth is coming out, and boy, is it ever destroying Democrat credibility. Like, extensively destroying it. And that, I think, is, like, the difference between the way I think versus the way a lot of other Republican and even Democrat people think. They don't think about the long game. They like those immediate results. And if they don't get them, it's not what they want, right? I'm okay with suffering for 4 years if I get the next 20 years of what I want, right? Like, that could be the Christian in me, right? Like, we go through this world not partying it up, although I have done that, and, not committing every sin in the book, which I have to go through the list, and not living unrepentant, the stuff, right? Like, at this point, I feel like Christianity is so ubiquitously known. I should hope that you would understand that I've made mistakes, you've made mistakes, we've all made mistakes, and that is the reason Christianity is the way that it is to seek forgiveness and try not to commit those mistakes in the future, right? I feel like the suffer now, have better later attitude is a very uniquely Christian. Well, alright, so maybe Buddhists too. I'm not sure. I'd have to talk to my friend about that one. I'd have to get back on the Xbox, which, I don't know, man. Almost $20 a month gets pretty expensive if you're on a tight budget. And the tight budget is why I'm using a crap camera too, by the way. I kind of wish that more people thought that way. Long-term gains, right? Short-term pain for long-term gains. Yeah, it sucks right now. Yeah, sure, I lost my arm. That sucks. Oh, there's this really cool cybernetic that it lets me put a cannon on my arm. Sweet. That kind of thing. Does that mean that you should cyberize everything? No, definitely not. You'd probably be better off keeping your own natural limbs, if I'm being honest, but, find the silver linings. Yes, Biden's economy sucks, but it does do the favor of contrasting the Democrat proposal under Biden versus the Make America Great Again proposal under Trump. So that contrast definitely puts people in perspective, 4 years worth of perspective can go a long way for a long time. It can also be quickly forgotten too, i.e. Bush. Oh, Bush. I remember when Bush, shortly after 9/11 happened, I was living in Bush, Alaska. I think the town was McGrath. Yes, it was. We went to the local gas station. So in order for this to come into perspective, when I tell you the number that we were paying for gas, you need to understand that we were almost double what you guys were paying down here, if not over, at that point in time. I saw $12.53 a gallon for gas. Now, the reason that price tag is so up is because, unlike most other places who get their gas, trucked in via semi-truck, right? Bush, Alaska, everything has to be flown in or sent in on a barge. And ice road trucking does exist, but it doesn't do as much as those two other things. So, it effectively doubles the expense of everything, right? If you want a box of mac and cheese, that 58-cent box from Walmart instantly became $1.16. Okay? So that's the way it is, you know? So, when I say $12.53, it's probably closer to $6 to $7 down here, but that's still really friggin' expensive, man. That's nuts. That's insane. Gas prices, man. And from what I've heard from some people, it's getting close to that bad under Biden. But all this does, and it's why I don't understand Democrats on this, like, they think that everyone's going to be on board with paying more for their agenda. They're not going to be willing to do it. Even if you don't have kids. I have a daughter. And another child somewhere, most likely. Here's the thing. Even if you don't have kids, that expense translates to you paying more at the grocery store and at the gas pump. I don't understand this with Democrats because, like, they realize that I don't think that it clicks in their head that when you cost everyday Americans more, and I'm not talking about Taylor Swift and her billionaire dollars and her fleet of fucking jets, right? I'm talking about normal people, you, me, and whoever else. Yeah, the people that they need the votes from aren't voting based off of the opinions of the celebrities. They're voting based off of how much food can I put on the table for my family each month, and how many times a year am I going to have to choose between paying my bills each month and feeding my family or myself. Those are kind of like extremely important political factors that I feel like the left and Democrats just kind of threw away, which was stupid. Whoever said that was a good idea needs to be fired and never allowed near politics ever again. It was the number one worst idea, politically speaking, that ever came across someone's head. Most people like me, generally, we probably wouldn't have even given a crap about anything else. Would have just left it alone, you know. But because you brought it to our kitchen table by saying you don't care how much we pay out, essentially, that's a problem. That's a big problem. And then you tax us more on top of that. So it's just like, yeah, sure, people are going to be like, oh, all you're doing is talking about the money. That you put more money, money ahead of blah, blah, blah. I have my own opinions about this that I can't put on YouTube. I in no way condone or advocate for violence, but I'm going to leave it at Wood Chipper 2024 and leave it alone on that one, right? Because YouTube would probably throw me out on my butt if I said what I really thought on that one. I hate things like that. I don't know. That post threw me off. Yeah, back political advice. That's what it was. You just, instead of just abandoning your core constituency, you basically flip the bird to every American who's having trouble putting food on the table. Bad politics, man. Real bad. It just is. And this, I think, speaks to the state of the hurricane, but I do believe that his administration is functioning without his say-so or know-how. Let me guess, another bot joining in. Oh, no, just someone liking my reply to something about Mark Cuban, which is, again, just me being funny. Someone said he was stupid. I said we already know this, but what did he do this time? The usual. The usual. Not really a huge deal. Yeah, that's a good point. Social Security is a light form of socialism. Generally speaking, I think it should be voluntary. I do actually, and I think more people, if it was voluntary, I do believe that if they knew they were going to get it on the other end and it was not being tampered with by the Fed every time you turn around, I think you'd probably have more people putting more into it as a personal opinion when they could, and it'd probably do better. I have a problem with it being mandatory because now it's mandatory. They've tampered with it in such a way that it's become insolvent. Um, you know, um, yeah. And I don't believe in paying into something that I'm not going to see the benefit from. Period. Bar none. Where's my benefit? You can't guarantee my Social Security when I turn 65. Where's my benefit? Where's my benefit to paying into this program? Why should I? I don't give a rip about what the law says about it either. I'm asking why morally I should pay into this system. Not legally, I'm talking about morally and business practice. Answer that question, answer those two angles, and I'll be fine with it if you can come up with a legitimate answer. And don't you dare say, oh, well, it's funding our elderly. Yeah, well, I'm going to be elderly at some point as well. So, where's that funding? Yeah. See, that's the problem. You set up a funding mechanism that requires people to work in your economy, and then you cripple your economy, allowing people the dollar that they put in to become worthless effectively. So, I mean, yeah. You screwed yourself on that one. Infinitely. And I'm not stupid enough to not pay attention. Just like with automation, we see the progress, we see the writing on the wall. Every single one of us that's actually paying attention, and we're just kind of sitting here like, well, what the hell do we do? Well, I can tell you what to do, and Tim and Sticks and a bunch of other people have said it too. Get some chickens, start a garden. Maybe if you got the money to do it, go get a cow. Buy your property, don't rent. If you can afford it, if you can find a way to afford it, I'd recommend it. Maybe if you got family that has property, talk to them and work with them on it. See if they'll help you out. You'll still probably have to pay for it unless you have a really, really nice family. These are kind of things that are important, having that family. This man needs to be put in prison. And I know general dipshittery is not actually a crime, but that's what I'd pretty much label him under. Yeah, it can happen. Sure can. If it works. Again, I want to see more than just rumors on Twitter about that before I say too much. If this is actually from there. Oh my god. There is nothing there. That's probably pretty close to accurate. Pretty close. I wouldn't say 100% on all of them, but a pretty decent portion. Um, I'm kind of starting to think that particular, um, that particular crime seems to be a common trend amongst certain individuals in that, and I would not be surprised if that actually happened. The CIA and the deep state. Alright. I know, Christian conservative talking about the deep state and the CIA in a positive way. Not the higher-ups. The everyday law enforcement agents under them. They exist for a reason and they need to exist. But I think that the current management of both, and the Vatican, the royal family, and definitely Hollywood, after what I've seen over the last 2 weeks, and have known for basically my whole life, they all need new management, right? Like vetted, clean management. Yes, I'm tapping my TV with my hand. Woohoo! Yay! The problem is that these 5 things here have more power over our daily lives, I think, than they need. And we gave it to them. We let them do it. In the case of Hollywood especially, we let them do it. The problem is at what point do we take it back? So, hey, I mean, it's a job. You get paid for it. Astounded at how steady his hands are on that, though, by the way. No homo, but that's always amused me as to how good people can be at certain things like that. Well, I would argue if that's actually the case, and this is not some video, then I'd argue that Holiday Inn gets a boycott. You know. But again, I want someone to actively investigate that. Like, I want to see the interaction. Alright. Yeah. All I'm seeing is his belt and his pants. And yes, that's the Holiday Inn. But it could have been anyone who told him that. And it could be part of a party or something. I don't know. Like, I'm not going to judge just off of this one video that shows me more of his jean fabric than anything else. I'm not trying to discredit this guy, but, like, and also, they don't tell you where this is happening. Holiday Inn is an international company. Is this happening in the U.S.? I don't want to play the audio because I don't have the copyright or any sort of protection to do it. But, like, where is this being taken? Yeah, scroll down so I can see the patch on his shoulder. I couldn't. It was moving too much. I couldn't see. I mean, if this is true, yeah, boycott. Just like I think we need to boycott MSNBC. So. Okay, if this happened, if this happened, the smart thing for her to do politically would be to kick him to the bricks. But that would require her to have a brain, so. Actually, on that point, the fact that she's still with him kind of speaks volumes, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had that energy before. Destiny 2 brought a lot of that energy out. Like, you just get done working a massive shift at work. You just put your kid to bed. And you're exhausted, but you still want to have that time to yourself before you have to go back and do it again the next day. And some dipshit has to mouth off like that, and it's just like, go climb a tree. Yeah, no. Go climb a tree. Yeah. Okay. Rasmussen reports. That just made my brain go pop. So what you're telling me is that you dipshits blew all your budget helping migrants and illegal immigrants get all these programs, and now we can't afford to help people during an actual crisis. Whoever made those decisions needs to be fired instantly. And if this were the Old West, I'd be saying time to get out the ropes, boys. But this ain't the Old West. This is not the Old West. Sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes, in this particular case, I believe it to be a bad thing personally. Again, I don't advocate for violence typically, but when you do something like that where you put hundreds, if not thousands, in danger by refusing to offer assistance, we don't care how much your budget is. Go help and stop being turds. Do your job. We'll deal with your funding later. Okay. I don't like stuff like that. That's stupid. The reason I don't like it is you knocked him on his backside. That's really it. All right. Again, this video is specifically labeled not for kids, so I can say this. I don't advocate for violence, but if you're stuck in a situation where you're using it or you have to use it, I believe that it should be just as much as necessary. In the case of him defending his brother, him getting between the two, that's fine. Knocking the guy on his ass. A part of me says, yeah, okay, maybe. But hitting him while he's down, I don't think is ever acceptable. I think that's something that we need to do away with in general. Like, you only do that if something's a legitimate threat on your life. If you're just throwing hands to throw hands, For real, people? Really? God, Twitter is fucking terrible. Huh. Well, that's interesting, I guess. Joe Rogan. That doesn't surprise me. He very well may be, and there's some stupid little rumor floating around about him screwing a couch. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how much of that I can actually show on YouTube, so we're gonna zip right past it, but I will speak to it a little bit. As a father, I agree with what he did. As someone who can't stand pedophiles, I agree with what he did. Legally speaking, however, and that seems to be what YouTube cares about, I can't condone vigilante violence because of policy, right? And it's a good way to get a strike, a big strike. But if we're speaking on as a father level, he did right in my eyes. He did the right thing in my eyes, because that judge is protected. There is no way he's going to see the inside of a prison cell. He'll get probation at worst. And I think, actually, if I were that sheriff, if I had dirt on anyone else about that courtroom, anything even remotely similar, I would drag every skeleton out of the closet. And yes, absolutely, it'd be a rat situation. But you know what? I think that's one of those situations where the plague-carrying rat kills the colony of cannibals kind of thing. If you catch my drift on what that means. Like, I don't like rats. I don't. And I don't normally advocate for a rat, but when you're in a position of power and you're doing stuff like that, I think certain exceptions should be allowed when it comes to the snitches get stitches rule. And I think if you're in a position of power and you are committing horrific acts, I think that's the one time that being a snitch should be allowed. But I think it has to be absolutely obvious to everyone that you did it for a reason, and it was to protect your community, your friends and family. Like, I'm not going to protect a war criminal. If I saw Adolf Hitler marching down the street with a bunch of Nazis, prison would probably be the last thing he'd have to worry about. But we'll play this safe and legal. I'm going to, at a minimum, I'm calling the police and handing him in. You catch my drift here? Like, I'm not going to rat on a guy for smoking pot or whatever. That's your body, your friggin' problem, dude. Although I would advocate that you maybe think about changing your ways and getting into a healthy lifestyle, because what's coming next, I'm even losing weight. Woot woot, down to 289. Was that 310? Think about that for a minute. And that's just off of portion control. By the way, I agree completely. RFK Jr. totally nailed that one, but I'll get into that in a second. While I can't speak to the violence of the situation, and it is horrible that he had to go that far, it should have been a situation where he could have contacted another judge, maybe a bailiff, presented the evidence, maybe this guy gets disbarred, and gets sent to prison for, 10 friggin' years for doing something horrible to his best friend's kid. What is wrong with you people? I'm about to go full friggin' red flaming fucking hair right now because I'm so Oh, yeah, here we go. What the fuck is wrong with you people? She's not even 18 yet. Alright, if she's an adult, she makes the choice to do what she does with this guy. Whatever, right? I mean, yeah, it's still illegal, but deal with it, right? You deal with the situation at that point. But she's under 18. She's a fucking minor. Federally speaking, because that judge is in a position of power, plus the fact that she's under the age of 18, makes it especially bad. And there's just this extra layer of what the fuck is wrong with you people. It was the sheriff's friend. Look. I can't believe I'm quoting Naruto on my channel here. The children are the king on the chessboard. They're the piece you fucking protect. And you're gonna do that to not just the king piece, but the king piece that was raised by your best friend. What is wrong with you? Oh my god. I want you to picture in your minds, all of you, anyone watching this video at any point in time, I want you to picture in your minds and think about this for a minute. You have a guy friend, right? Maybe he's got kids, maybe he doesn't. That's kind of irrelevant at this particular juncture. But you do have kids. You have a daughter. You wake up one morning, your daughter's 17 years old, and you see him and her sending inappropriate text messages back and forth to each other. What the fuck do you expect to happen? You just betrayed your friend, endangered his little girl. The betrayal alone is enough to make someone friggin' snap like a twig. I know there are some sick people out there, but, like, there's just certain things that really you don't fully grasp until you actually grasp it. And that, I guess, is just my thing, that I didn't fully grasp just how bad you fuckers really are to each other. I mean, I'm seriously having a fucking Jesus overturning tables moment right now. I'm about to go full scorched earth. Full on. I'm a fat, lazy fucking YouTuber who's trying to develop a video game so he doesn't have to go out and hold a labor job, because every time I've had a labor job, I've had some kind of medical condition like heart palpitations or my back giving out every time I've tried to do a labor job. The closest thing to a decent job I've been able to do is work behind a cash register, and no offense to everyone who works a cash register, but I feel you. I've dealt with the Karens, I've dealt with the Kens, I've dealt with the Marvin the Martian type, and you know what type I'm talking about when I say that. But here's my problem. This should not happen. Ever. Never. No. No. You went to school together, from what I remember hearing. They were best friends. You don't... Look. Okay? There's a difference in the situations, right? If she grows up around you, becomes attached to you, and then through some sick quirk, you end up together, and she's an adult, making her own decisions, and you have discussed it with your friend, and there is nothing inappropriate that happened before she turned into an adult. That's one thing, right? It's still sick, but that's one thing, right? Because then you've discussed it. You've gone over everything. But to go behind your friend's back, diddle his daughter before she's an adult, And apparently you have a record of doing this stuff and getting away with it. I think that the bullets that you got put into your head, and I know you're dead so you can't hear me, but this is just as a notice moving forward. I think if you do that at this point in time, I think bullets to the brain are a mercy compared to what you deserve. And that's me being honest about how I feel. Now, legalistically, I can't advocate for that kind of violence. If I could, I'd probably say something along the lines of, you deserve to be split from your face down to your you-know-what and flayed open like a tanning rack with fish hooks and string. But, you know, I can't say that I advocate for that kind of stuff because that's horrific violence. That's the stuff that the feds come to your door and say, are you okay, kind of thing. Which, by the way, if the feds do see this, unless you got a warrant, don't bother showing up. I know the law, I know my rights. Eat a fat one. I didn't actually say someone should do any of these things, and I'm just expressing what I feel should happen. Nothing I said will ever happen. Well, no one should act upon what I feel or my expressions on a YouTube stream. Some of these topics get highly heated, and yes, oh boy, do I get hot under the collar. But there's a difference between talking about and acting upon. I don't know if that can be defeated. That we'll see what happens. I've been awake for quite a while. Oh, I'm gonna move on. I wood chipper and leave it at that. Then I want to see the original, and I want the source of the original. Yeah, you could own a Canon. You still can. Actually, Canons are one of those things that you don't even need a background check for. Weirdly enough, it's easier to buy a literal cannon, right? I can go buy a literal piece of artillery and have it in my front yard easier than I can buy a hunting rifle. Think about that for a minute. Let that one stew in your head. Okay, yeah, that bear's not... If that bear was vicious or malicious, that guy'd be dead. Like, dead. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, put him in jail. Holy shit. A little extreme, but he's not wrong. Mm-hmm. Shit happens. It's war. Okay, then my next question is, what do you do with the rats? Or rather, the mice, I should say, because those aren't full rats. Oh, I agree, 100%. Let's go back to the dock strike though. See if we can find it. Huh. Well, apparently it's no longer trending. Interesting. Instead, we got, let's see here. World War III is trending. Why do you morons want to speed run the apocalypse? Why? Why can't you just leave me alone? Stock market crash. Yeah, not surprised there. Can't translate that. Bank of America. I almost don't want to know. But I have to because reasons. Oh, yeah. I already knew this stuff. This is their whole connection to other companies and worldwide financial entities. I already knew about that. Joy Reid. Yeah, boycott MSNBC. She's actively calling for physical violence against Donald Trump and people who follow him. That boycott should have been done a long time ago, actually. But y'all didn't have the testicular fortitude to call for it, so I will. Boycott MSNBC. Oh, yeah. Huh. We're going to have to talk about the connection between the church and those two organizations at some point, too. Mm-hmm. This man is actually pretty smart. Like, he knows what he's saying, too. I highly advise anyone watching or even seeing this long stream. Holy crap, I've gone over an hour and no one has seen it. You know, if you guys do see this, like and subscribe. Seriously. I'm going to start doing more of these. But, okay. Look, I know that these are trademarks. But just how many of them actually function, that's kind of where I sit on that. I want to see them in operation before I say one way or the other. Yeah, you'll notice that whole dock strike thing disappeared real quick. Yeah, where's the thing? Yep, literally gone just as quick as it got here. Thursday morning, let's see. Okay. Yep, I get it. Dude wants a sandwich. Carving. Alright. Oh, okay, that's adorable. Okay, most of these videos like this are absolutely staged, but some of them are pretty funny. Dude, you got the candy bar sticking out of your mouth. Come on, man. Uh-huh. Yeah, I've actually been reprimanded for doing that a couple times. And half of you didn't even see her staring at the ball. Yep. Okay. To those who, there are very few people who don't know this. That is the most annoying noise in the world. A mosquito near your ear, or within earshot. Ugh. Just like the worse your hearing is, the worse the worse your hearing is, and the closer it is, you feel like it's closer, so you try to reach and grab for it. When you have really good hearing, you still try to reach and grab for it, despite the fact that it's like 5 feet that way. Yeah, cigarettes are not good for your health. Unless you're gonna die anyway and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, at that point, go ham. But, like, if you have a chance of survival, try it. Oh... I like the Russian version of this. I think it's coming up. Yup! That one's pretty funny. Hey, I don't care for the Russian government. I'll say that. Like, Putin, you're an idiot. But some of the stuff that comes out of Russia is actually pretty damn funny. Especially when it comes to seeing a reporter get decked like that. Like, okay, I can't advocate for violence. But come on. You know most of the journalists in the world, as twisted in the head as they are, they probably deserve a lot worse. Like, a lot of them nowadays remind me of that kid that everyone just kind of lets slip through, but they know he's going to get his ass handed to him. At some point, they don't want to be in trouble for doing it, kind of thing. That's what most journalists today, that's the kind of kid those journalists remind me of in school. Like, you know that this guy did the thing, right? Kitty! Kitties are cute. Yeah, they do, and I sure do hope you people in the southern states, I forget exactly which states they are because I suck at geography. But I sure hope y'all are doing alright. I know some of you passed away regrettably as a result of this, but try to keep your stick on the ice. This is bad. And the government response to it is worse. I mean, my big question about this whole thing is not well, that you can call me a racist if you want to, but like, my big question here is, under Trump, we didn't have illegal immigration problem. Well, we had some, but not as bad, right? In fact, I'd argue that under every president prior, the issue wasn't this bad. Which has to do with populations and, the difference in number sizes. I get that. But, like, FEMA, what the fuck are you doing? You're not immigration. You're Federal Emergency Management Agency. You're supposed to be handling natural disasters. FEMA should not be handling anything border related, period. Where is that in your mandate? Where? So I don't give a shit if you don't have the funding to do it. Your asses need to be doing it anyway. Period. Or you need to cease to exist and function, and we need a new agency, or a new civilian-run organization that takes your place. I don't understand. I guess I just don't understand where you thought. Well, I do understand. I know exactly where it came from. It came from the brain donor that's our current sitting president and his lackeys, or rather probably his puppet masters. I don't understand why you thought that was a good idea. It's a good reminder that some of those quote-unquote rednecks, they're your truck drivers and the farmers that provide the food to your grocery store. Some of those quote-unquote rednecks are the PhDs and the MDs that provide you with medical care. So to you leftist morons who don't actually understand how the system actually works and think that it's broken and all this other shit, so you don't care, I will explain this to you. You can sit here and hate on people for their politics all you want, but wishing harm or death upon them, remember that they might be the same person that you rely on for very important services such as your medical care, your fire department, your police department, your military, your farms, your food, your water. How many of these people worked at the clean water facility that cleaned the water for these towns to drink out of? How many of them passed away? How hard is it going to be to replace them? By the way, and before you say, oh, well, it's not that big a deal, it is a big deal, actually. Did you know that on average, the longest you can live without drinking water is about 3 days? Yeah. Think about that. And that's without eating, too, because sometimes your body can accumulate moisture from food, but you're better off drinking water, and your electrolytes are important as well. Okay, and that's another thing, too. Like, the damage is done to the dams and everything else. Like, who's going to repair that? What was the chief engineer that would handle repairing that stuff? Okay, well, that has nothing but music. I was actually looking to see Alright. So, it's just music. I was actually kind of hoping someone pops some proof where the feds are saying, no, you can't. I mean, I need a time machine and a modern camera, Chernobyl. But at this current point in time. Jesus, Liberty. Why? It was funny, but why? I don't want to know. See, I don't live in Europe, so that's not actually my problem. I've done flagging like that before. And I've also had to do it after having, like, no sleep for 2 days. This woman could be on drugs. But she could also be either laughing her ass off at something. Okay, yeah, no, she's on something. Whatever company she's working for, they need to be contacted, and this needs to be shown to them. What if you're raised by all three? And the dogs. Talk about a overreaction. Jeez. Just asked you where you got your coat. I like the Raven part, actually, of the Treehouse of Terror. Or Treehouse of Horror. Their redoing of Edgar Allan Poe I thought was very amusing. Well, yeah, I actually have a big question about that as well. I've seen these reports float around Twitter, Facebook, and other places. I know about the high-speed internet thing, and they did nothing with it. Where did the money go, right? I have a pretty good idea. It's probably going up someone's nose somewhere. But, like, yeah, the same is true for the rest of this, too. Yeah, so that dock working thing totally disappeared off of my feed. Isn't that something? Completely gone. I guarantee you, I get off of YouTube, it'll show back up again. They don't want people talking about it. But just for shiggles, Where is it under? I can use his to bounce back up to it. See, here's the thing. This guy wants to say that he's going to shut down the U.S. I'm going to say what we're all thinking. This is the guy. Okay? The Army Corps of Engineers, or the Navy Corps of Engineers, has full autonomy to operate on the soil of the United States, including the shorelines and the docks. If it gets bad enough, and it could, the President of the United States, no matter who it is, by the way, these kind of negotiations could easily drag on for 6 months to a full year, by the way. And if it gets bad enough, the President could just rubber stamp them to go in and put all the automation in without you having so much as a whoopsie daisy, and it'd just be labeled off as an emergency expense under an executive order. And you know what Congress will do to impeach him? Not a thing. Because they'll agree with him. Every last one of them. Your bargaining power is not as high as you think it is. And good luck being out of work, because no sympathy. Zero sympathy from the public on this one. There was a clown who was sitting there trying to argue, oh, yada, yada, yada. But the top comments in this thread basically say it all. And that's another thing too. We're not just saying no dock workers, all right? We're just saying that you guys are making almost $100,000 or more a year, and while you might deserve that kind of pay, I'm not arguing that point. When you have someone that is your union boss who's making, let's scroll back up here because someone did mention the figure. Let's see here. Almost $900,000 a year, who has a Bentley and a 5-car garage and a piece of property that's friggin' huge. I'm sorry, no. You need to ditch your union boss and get a new one. That's what that tells me. Yeah. You can demand wage and automation demands all that you want, but the reality is that most of the ports in the world are already automated. We're one of very few that aren't. I know I've already said this. I just decided to dig this back up. Automating our ports can happen, and you would have no say in how it was made, how it was done at all. So you can either have a say and keep a job at the port, or the rest of the United States will just move on without you. And the other guy was trying to argue with me, saying, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. They'll get what they want, and you'll have to pay for it. And I'm like, no, I won't. Most of my stuff is airshipped in. I literally pay to have my stuff hit airplanes, not the ports. I pay the extra. So, if anything, actually, the union that's getting my money is the Air Workers Union. I'm still paying into a union, but not his. And it really is that easy. Just have it aired in. They do flights from other countries to the U.S. all the time. It doesn't have to come in via boat. You just have to pay a little more for it. And it's usually a little bit faster, too. They have a customs agent right there at the international airports. They just look it over and send it through the machine, and if it doesn't test positive for explosives or anything dangerous, and sometimes if it does, because some people don't do their jobs, they send it to your home without ever having to touch a dock. So, yeah, you really got to be very careful with what you say and what you do. And your language thus far has left lacking. And I think this strike is highly inappropriate given the events surrounding it. And I think that if you're making almost $100,000 a year, you need to understand that I am by no means a rich person. We are actively living on $2,000 per month. You really, really need to remember that. So when I see someone who's earning 5 times the amount I am or more, mouthing off online, my response is exactly this: then you need to change your lifestyle, because you're doing it wrong. You are. You're doing it wrong. Your budget is probably completely shot. If you gave me your budget and control of your finances for probably about a month or two, I could show you a template, and whether you followed it or not would be your problem. The problem is not how much you're getting. The problem is you're not understanding the situation you're in. You work a job. You are an employee. You work at the docks. And even this union boss is effectively an employee, an overpaid employee. You can be fired and removed at any time in most states, and federally speaking, if you cause too much of a problem for the whole country, you'll just be steamrolled right over. Like, they will do it and not have a second hesitation. They'll place the ports under military control, they'll automate the whole thing, and you'll never have a job working the docks again. Those are your two choices, is to comply and do a good contract where you go back to your 50% that you wanted, and maybe you talk about automation a little bit and see how that goes. Or they can just say screw you and steamroll right over you and put the automation in anyway. Gee, I wonder which one they're gonna do. Sorry. I mean, we literally... And no, I don't like it. I don't like it. I really don't. I would prefer my brothers and sisters that work on the docks. Literal family members, by the way, not just using that as a euphemism, that work on the shorelines. I have family members that do. I'd prefer them to keep their jobs. I'd prefer them to be able to supply to their families the food on their table. But when you have a jackal like this get out there who thinks that he's going to somehow skim off more of your hard-earned money by being a jackass on national television, I'm sorry, but your union just lost a lot of credibility at this point in time. A lot. You've done more to hurt the country than you've helped your own constituents, which, by the way, you're hurting them too. You are massively hurting them by doing this. This is the worst representation I've seen by a union in my life. I've been alive for 30-something years. That's a pretty impressive stretch. I would say I could do better, but to be fair, a baby could do better. A child, a literal child, could negotiate better. I absolutely could. So could my dog. My senile great-grandparent, maybe they'd never hit senility. They just got old, and yeah, I'm not going to talk about that. That just depressed me a little bit, but you get my point. A tree could do better. I mean, at least a tree doesn't come out and say something ghoulish like this clown did. You want to cut down on the automation? Sure, okay, fine, whatever. Not a problem. But you're not getting the 77%, you're going to get 50. 50 is what was agreed upon. And you're still going to get automation, just probably not as much as what's going to end up happening. It's going to be a slower rollout. But at the end of the day, you're still going to end up replaced by machines eventually. And that's something that's happening everywhere, not just in your industry. Film, video games, radio, I would argue to a lesser extent, but possible. Manufacturing is going to be done by computers. Like, yeah, all you have to do is attach an artificial intelligence to a CNC machine and tell it what you want it to make, and it'll make it. It'll cut the parts for you. Normally, actually pretty accurate too, to specs. Anyway, metal productions have been automated in reality, if the United States wanted to eliminate the job market entirely, we actually could. We could. Right here at home, no one would have to lift a finger. The only people that would have jobs are maintenance personnel and people who run the computers that make them work. You could actually, a lot of my neighbors wouldn't like to hear this because where I live is a mill town, and if you know anything about mill towns in Maine, they're paper mills. You could completely automate a paper mill, 100%, absolutely. The only job that you probably wouldn't want to automate would be the truck drivers because reasons, right? But absolutely, the manufacturing of paper and paper goods could be 100% automated. No one would have a job, it'd just be income for the one CEO. And like a small handful of maintenance personnel. That'd be about it. About it. What, you have one person sitting in a chair shuffling cards while he watches for a light to go red because something got jammed or messed up somewhere that he has to go fix once every, 48 hours? 24 hours? 2 weeks? Months? We don't know. This stuff could probably go on indefinitely. All the while, everyone's just raking in the money. Except for, Tom and Mary down the road who need that job. I'm just saying, you need to be careful when you're negotiating these things, because if you overreach, you'll get smacked, and you won't like it. Because the smack could come in the form of no one having a job. And by the way, it's just a matter of time. This is something that Jeremy from The Quartering said, and I agree with what he said. I'm trying to break into an industry that's probably actively dying right now, because having live stream personalities that are not artificially generated might become a thing. I might be able to type in a couple of content things. The artificial intelligence scours Twitter for 15-20 minutes, and then I get 2 hours worth of content spoken, and I don't have to say a word. I mean, it's just it's coming. It's coming for all of us. And that's not me being some wackadoo saying, we need to kill all the machines kind of thing, but what's going to happen to us is my question. The machines are doing all the work. What are we going to do? Most of the machines I have do all the work for me right now. The only thing they don't do is feed me and go to the bathroom. How much longer until that becomes a thing? I'm going to tell you, as a human being that enjoys his cooking, I'd rather die than give up my cooking. So, for me, that part will never happen. But, and I hate to say Star Trek, but how much longer till we're eating food pellets? I'm getting the look from my dog. It's adorable. How much longer until we are controlled by the machines, as the Matrix put it? How much longer until that happens? Because I don't want my kids to go through it. I don't want to go through it. I don't want my grandkids to go through it when I have those. It's something that I don't think should happen, but I think is inevitably going to happen. And Asmongold kind of has a good point. How much longer until the human hand is irrelevant in the operations of these things? And what happens to us then? As a species, my question is, what happens to humanity? Do we just die off? Do we end up like the fat, disgusting blob from the original Dune movie that was done back in the 70s, 80s? I forget when. I'm not going to look it up. This video's dragged on long enough. I think we're going to call it here, but something everyone needs to think about. And the union strike that's going on with our longshoremen kind of exemplifies what I'm saying, because literally we're going to end up to a point where nothing we do is done by human hand. Except maybe the building of the machines by the same slaves that build the computer that I'm recording this on. And before you say they're not slaves, they're paid. They're underpaid. They're underpaid to the point where it's pennies on the dollar compared to what we pay people here in the U.S. So that's something to consider. I do believe that we need to find a way to regulate tariffs to where the companies themselves have to pay the tariffs out of pocket without raising prices on consumers. That would be... I don't know how you'd go about doing that, but it's something that needs to be considered. But that's a more advanced economics issue that I'm not going to cover today. That'll probably be another day. I just happen to have a quiet home today, so I can do a video. I really, really wish I could have a more quiet environment to do these things without people, What I really need is a private office or some sort of studio setup where I can do this stuff without, without disrupting everyone else, but also without being disrupted. And I don't have the money for that right now. Watch like 8 hands start touching my head and face. I wish I had the animation hardware and software for that. That would be hilarious. What I want is a better cam. Definitely. Maybe a bit better lighting that's not quite so angular. But, deep thoughts here about the automation thing, though. We need to... I think a lot of people need to sit down and have that conversation. And if this was a YouTube video, if I didn't say anything else, it'd probably be what I just said. If it wasn't a live stream, I was kind of hoping to get some folks to show up, but, well, I'm boring. My streams are boring, quite boring. Yeah, see, one person... It's been going on for 106 minutes, hasn't gone anywhere, so I think we're going to call it. I think the medic has called this one a dead one, another dead stream, so, is what it is. But if anyone decides to pick through this 100 and some odd minute video to figure out, what's what in here, if nothing else, just remember that the machines are going to take us all out of work, and it's just a matter of time. You can sit there and say, oh, but the union will defend me. The union will only go so far, dude. Once the automation gets cheap enough, your union will become irrelevant, as will you. The same thing is true for every other employee out there. The second... California proved this with McDonald's, by the way. The second it becomes too expensive to keep you employed, they'll just replace you with a machine that can do the same job and only keep, one person there just to make sure that the machine keeps doing its thing. I just... They replaced employees with kiosks and cooking machines. What? You bumped up the minimum wage to a point where they couldn't afford it, and then they just replaced your workers. You think a union's going to have leverage over the federal government when they decide to forcibly open your ports and use automation to do it? Sorry, there is no leverage at that point. And they can do it. They can. I would turn you to all the emergency acts that Congress have passed. Every last one of them includes the docks and how they function. In fact, actually, the same thing that Donald Trump used to activate Operation Warp Speed can be used against the docks, too. Yep. They can absolutely force it through, and you will have no say. At all. At all. And when you try to raise it to the federal government... They're the federal government. They're going to do what they want when it comes to that, because nowhere in the Constitution does it say that they can't. And that's really the important thing you need to remember. And sure, it might piss a lot of people off, thousands of people off. We're a country of 330 some odd, at last figure, probably higher, I don't know, 330 million people, a couple thousand, big deal. Big deal, big whoop. One person, even less, who cares? So, I think these negotiations are being poorly handled by the man who's trying to handle them. And that's the guy that I had on my screen, this old fart right... Oh, I did the thing. This guy right here is the problem. His negotiating tactics are going to fail horribly, and every single person around this guy, is going to lose their job. Every single one of them. I guarantee it. It's coming. He won't care. He's got enough setback to retire. Why should he care about what happens to the rest of them? These guys sit there and smile and wave like this guy is going to somehow pull them out of the dirt. Buddy, he's not going to pull you out of the dirt. He's going to bury you further. You think it's hard on $100,000 worth of income? Imagine doing it with no income. Good luck. And, before anyone gets on here and says one way or the other, ooh, that blah, 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 never happened. It has happened. Many times it's happened. Let's go back in time on the history on that before I get out of here. The automotive industry. How much of that got automated compared to when it first started? How many people lost those jobs in strikes? I wonder. The only reason they still have jobs is because of union negotiations at the time that said, hey, but you can't do this to these people. Well, I'll give you a little secret. If the federal government wants to do it, they're gonna fucking do it. It's not like it was back then. Back then, the federal government kind of shrugged and said it's a business problem, not our problem. Now, you're dealing with the shipping and handling of every product that's sold from overseas in the United States or shipped to these countries. The federal government has an explicit interest in this. And guess what? You're fucking with it. You're fucking with it. And they're not going to like it. They're going to steamroll you. They're going to replace you with a machine. And they're literally not going to think twice about doing it. Not at all. And if you think those Army Corps engineers boys won't go in there and do it, buddy, the same stuff that you're refusing to let through your ports is the same stuff that they used to feed their families with. So they're going to do it. They'll absolutely do it. They'll roll right on over you and not give you a second thought. And I think it's time people realize that. But, they won't. Oh no, short-sighted people like this, they don't give anything a second thought. Are you kidding? This guy will be on the TV tomorrow saying the same blatant BS. And if he has an apology, I guess I'll owe myself a $20 bill that I don't have. But, you know what? I'll tell you exactly what history has taught me and should have taught everyone else by now, including this clown. Technology and progress don't give a shit about your workers or your pay. They'll roll right over you if you let them, and you're opening the door to that. You're demanding too much for money, and the technology's just going to come in and do what you do for an exorbitant amount for relatively nothing. Oh yeah, you have to pay for the initial purchase and the maintenance of the equipment, but that's it. That is it. You don't have to pay the couple million to $1 billion to keep people employed past that point. And then there's the health insurance and the life insurance and whatever else. You don't have to pay a machine all that garbage. Just let it do its thing. So, yeah, and look what happened to all those secretaries on the note of that. I can have AI do your job for free. We, the secretaries, are striking for higher pay and no computers in the office. Now you'll see who's been typing all your shit all these years. It is literally the same energy. This guy's right. This Kyle guy has it. I don't know who he is. Recovered. Okay. The recovered FBI agent gets the subscription from me. I don't know who this dude is, but he's right. He's right. You know, and I'm sure if I watch his stuff, which I will off stream, I'm sure he's saying pretty much the same stuff that I just said. A lot of it, and is probably more focused and more YouTube friendly. This lady goes through a lot of stuff, and I don't like. I like her stuff, but I don't really like it being shown on my channel, kind of thing. So we'll have to work on that moving forward. Yeah, this stream's dead. I'm the one person monitoring it. No chat, no nothing. If there ever is a chat, hit the comments, say your opinions, speak your piece. But know that the automation and the artificial intelligence is coming for us all. Pretty soon I won't even be able to be lazy at home. A computer will be doing that for me too, right? Yeah. Oh, I don't need to read my Bible. I have a computer that can read it to me and understand it for me and tell me everything I need to know. Because that's totally, safe. Yeah, because he totally didn't have something similar to that back when the Catholic Church was reading the Bible to people. And told that they couldn't own Bibles, and told that they couldn't learn how to read, and a bunch of other things. Anyway, I'm signing off. I know I said I would a half an hour ago, but now I'm really signing off. Peace and chicken grease, and enjoy your day. It is a very lovely day outside, and I might just go take my dog for a walk. Hopefully, if you have pets, you're taking them out too. That vitamin D deficiency stuff